When it comes to freedom, size matters. Your 100,000-watt voice of freedom. The new Freedom 96.9. Freedom969.com and on the Freedom app. Freedom
Weather.
Here's your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast. Today will be breezy and very warm with intervals of sunshine, but keep an eye out for a strong thunderstorm in some areas later this afternoon. These storms could potentially bring hail and damaging winds with a high of 92 degrees. Tonight, expect an evening thunderstorm giving way to partly cloudy skies and a low of 70 degrees. Tomorrow will remain breezy and hot with temperatures nearing the record high of 98 degrees set back in 1934. Anticipate a mix of sun and clouds throughout the day with the mercury climbing to 97 degrees. With your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are solely those of the speakers and other contributors. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of this station. The new Freedom 96.9, Oklahoma's talk radio.
Broadcasting live from the command center of Freedom 96.9 in Oklahoma City, it's McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma, saving lives, protecting property, fortifying Oklahoma, one roof at a time. I'm Rick Allen Lippert here with Hague Certified Master Level Damage Inspector, Oklahoma Licensed Public Adjuster, Fortified Evaluator, and IBHS Fortified Roofing Contractor, Scott McCullum.
Hey, good morning, man.
Scott McCullum has the day off today. In his place is Chris Meredith, candidate for Insurance Commissioner. Welcome back, Chris.
Good morning. How are you?
Retro Radio Randy, I'm sorry to say, is still on probation today, so we're not going to let him talk. What? You, however, can hear his voice when you call 405-608-4377. We are live streaming today on the McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma YouTube channel, and we're streaming the audio on freedom969.com. We'll start as usual with our trivia question and other interesting tidbits, including the word of the week, the phone number to answer the trivia question or to just ask one, 405-608-4377. Later, we may have Scotty's view from the rooftop.
We may.
We'll see. And we will have some after the storm tips brought to you by Roof RX, and we will, as always, wrap up with Dad's wisdom. And coming back from breaks, I have some really obscure historical trivia for you.
I bet you do.
Oh, it's a good one today. Hey, guys, I swim laps at the MAPS 3 Wellness Center, the Mick and Terry Cornett Healthy Living Center. Anyway, it's a busy pool, and folks double up in the lanes. A couple of days ago, all the lanes were occupied, as usual. So as a courtesy, I waited in the shallow end of one lane to ask the swimmer if she minded sharing her lane. It's just a courtesy. They always say yes, but it's just a courtesy. Anyway, so she came to the end of the lane, is turning around. I asked her. She said, sure. And then she just said, remember to say that S&CM LLC, doing business as McRoof.us, legally operates under Oklahoma registration number 80000002, and the registration applies to both residential and commercial roofing.
Wow.
And then she went back to swimming.
Unbelievable. You know, Randy, I've got this image of him. He's out fishing, and he catches a fish, and the fish comes out of the water and tells him that.
I had a dream about that.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, wow.
All right, so let's get started with the trivia question,
Let's
shall
do
we?
it. This one's pretty easy. How many certainteed shingles are approved for use in a fortified high wind and hail designated roof? Is it A, 3, B, 4, C, 5, or D, 6?
If you think you know the answer to that, give us a call, 405-608-4377. The winner will get their choice of what are you offering? Scott, you want to give what you want to not do books anymore.
You can go ahead and do the books and the Carpenter Square today.
Okay, all right. So you get your choice of books, either Raving Fans or Unreasonable Hospitality, or 2 free tickets to any Carpenter Square Theater production for the rest of this season. And I will tell you that the current show runs this weekend and next. It's a bawdy comedy, very raunchy comedy, but some heartwarming, touching moments in it. Just some pretty strong language. Called Looped, about Tallulah Bankhead, famous Hollywood actor, trying to re-record one line of dialogue. And then the final play of the season is called Sordid Lives, and it's set in a small town in Texas. And it's billed as a black comedy about white trash.
Huh. Interesting.
And it also has some pretty foul.
I think I'll be there.
All right, 405-608-4377. How many CertainTeed shingles are approved for use in a fortified high wind and hail designated roof? 3, 4, 5, or 6?
And for any of you cheaters out there, IBHS/fortified.
Okay, so that's our trivia question. While we wait for someone to call, what's our word of the week?
Well, our word of the week is commoditize.
Commoditize.
To be commoditized means a unique product or service has lost its distinctiveness over time. As competitors replicate features, consumers view the offerings as interchangeable, forcing companies to compete primarily on price rather than on quality. Wonder why I would be talking about that on a show like this.
I wonder why.
Key characteristics: interchangeability. Buyers feel one company's product is identical to another. Price-driven buying. Purchasing decisions are based almost entirely on who offers the lowest price or the biggest discount. Declining profit margins because multiple sellers are undercutting each other to win customers. Overall prices and profits drop across the industry. What it does not say in the definition: when profits or margins drop across the industry, so does the quality of what you are buying.
Yeah, it's
Okay?
a race to the bottom.
So that is commoditized.
So, Chris Meredith, you're running for insurance commissioner. The primary is coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yes, and commoditize. I immediately jumped to claims.
Okay.
My background is in claims operations. That's what I did. I'm the only one in this race that knows claims and has run an operation. And when you talk about commodities, everyone listening probably thinks of insurance in that way, but they don't think about the actual product. I think about insurance products is the claims.
Yes.
That's what you're buying. You're
Yes.
buying a claim.
Yes.
And when people, you look at a policy, they all virtually are very similar, but you don't know what you buy until that claim happens.
Right.
And usually that is on your worst day. So, we try to, race to the bottom, those types of things. But the real service on insurance is claims.
Yep.
And that's the problem we're seeing in the media right now. You see it with, I don't care if it's price. I mean, the price of everything is driven by claims. Those are the losses that's driving the price up. And then the trust being broken in the marketplace right now is driven by claims, the claims process. And that is what we have to get a hold of as a commissioner.
So things that I see, and I tell people all the time, told them for 17 years on our various programming, the way that we buy insurance is absolutely looking at it from the standpoint of the check that we're going to have to write.
Right.
That's the way most people buy insurance. That's not the way that we should be looking at insurance. As Chris said, we need to be looking on how we're going to be treated on our worst day. And that's what we're buying. And that's why I have tons of people that call me every year or every other year or from time to time asking me, from your standpoint, who are the insurance companies that you recommend in Oklahoma? And I have a hierarchy of carriers in Oklahoma over the last 17 years, and I will not say it on the air, but anyone that calls me or emails me and asks me, I will tell you exactly who the carriers that are going to perform at the very top of the list on a consistent basis, and the carriers are going to be at the very bottom of the list on a consistent basis, and the people that are fighting to get to the bottom along with them, and the people that are trying to move up towards the top. I will tell you that. I will tell you that from the experience of someone who is in the field, on the roofs, dealing with the consumers, working their way through claim scenarios. If you want that information, it's available to you.
And see, that's where I get at. I feel like that's the department's role. That's going to be my role.
Okay.
Is to publicize that. I want people to know who are the companies we're getting complaints on, and what are the dispute ratios. Give me something. I mean, just think about it as like a consumer report on claims handling for the carriers. So when you go to buy insurance, you can go look at our website. You can hear from us and see the facts that we have on, and so you can make a better decision as to what company you want to go with.
Would that possibly include complaints?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Complaints.
one of the things that Chris talked about was a report card, and he and I have shared some ideas and concepts about really a claims advisory group that Chris puts together that could involve consumers and contractors and attorneys and carrier representatives across the board that really have eyes on how OID is administering their consumer complaints division and what the actions that come out of that really are, and being transparent about it. I think that trust is what has to be restored in the entire system. One of the things that Chris and I talk about too is we talk about claims driving outcomes. Well, one of the things that I see, I read a big article about it yesterday about how an insurance company is really leveraging a roofing platform called Apple Roofing. And this particular carrier is leveraging Apple Roofing to commoditize, to drive the cost of their claims down. All right? As far as I'm concerned, they're looking at it absolutely backwards. They should be looking at it from the standpoint of how do they mitigate risk? How do they protect that client from a repeat failure? Okay? That's what they should be doing. That's not what this particular carrier is doing through Apple Roofing. It is not what managed repair, by and large, has done to the marketplace. Managed repair, by and large, and I've been asked by every carrier to be a part of their managed repair programs, we have refused forever. The reason is that there are a lot of rules and stipulations that go along with that. Managed repair is intended to drive claims costs down. That's what it's there for. You don't get the best contractors out of a managed repair program because the best contractors won't participate in a managed repair program. So,
all right, with that, we'll take our first break. We'll be back in a flash. You're listening to McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma on Freedom 96.9 in Oklahoma City. He's Scott McCullum. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. Retro Radio Randy is here. And Chris Meredith, candidate for State Insurance Commissioner, sitting in for Scotty McCullum today. We'll hear more about his plans after the break. 405-608-4377.
Every property owner knows the pain of rising insurance costs, higher premiums, higher deductibles, and more exclusions than ever before. You may have even received a non-renewal notice or a letter stating your roof no longer meets our underwriting requirements and your policy will be canceled in 30 days. You don't know the condition of your roof, you're not a roofer, but neither does the underwriter, and they're making decisions that affect your coverage. RoofRx brings clarity to where uncertainty once lived. We're not roofers looking for work. We're certified inspectors dedicated to truth and transparency. We combine state-of-the-art imaging with generations of roofing expertise to reveal the true condition of your roof and maximize its remaining life. We turn complex data into a clear prescription, what can be maintained, what needs repaired, and what needs replaced. We perform and document that work for you and your insurance carrier and provide the peace of mind of lifetime workmanship warranties and money-back guarantees. It's not about replacing roofs. It's about helping you understand the true condition of your roof, mitigate your risk, and protect your insurability. RoofRx, the prescription for your ailing roof.
McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma back on the air. Hey, on this date in 1431, now I normally just do American history, but this one is so important. On this date of May the 30th, 1431, During the 100 Years' War, a young 19-year-old Joan of Arc was burned at the stake by an English-dominated tribunal in France. Getting back to American history, on this date in 1806, future President Andrew Jackson killed Charles Dickinson in a duel after Dickinson accused Jackson's wife of bigamy. Future president killed the man. So the precedent has been set.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Our trivia question is still out there. This is a pretty easy one. If you just pick a number. How many CertainTeed shingles are approved for use in a fortified high wind and hail designated roof? 3, 4, 5, or 6? How many CertainTeed shingles are approved for use in a fortified high wind and hail designated roof? 3, 4, 5, or 6? 405-608-4377.
And I'm even going to give you some of the low-hanging fruit. So, two that we talk about all the time are our SBS Modified Flex Technology shingles, CertainTeed Northgate Climate Flex, and CertainTeed Landmark Climate Flex. So there's two of them right there, folks. So you go from there. So, hey, Chris, we were talking about commoditizing. We were talking about claims and some of the claims practices with managed repair, companies' efforts with roofing platform to drive costs down. It's always dressed up, I call it lipstick on a pig. It's always dressed up to the insureds as something that benefits them. Yeah. What do these practices really cost consumers?
Yeah, when you go the cheap route, so you're talking about premature roof failures. So poor nailing patterns, skipped underlayment, and improper ventilation. Things are being skipped to get to the bottom
because of the quality of the contractor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you have voided manufacturer warranties. Manufacturers require strict installation guidelines to honor their warranties. And so when your commoditized crews rush the job, they often violate the specs, leaving the homeowners entirely responsible for future leaks. And it goes to the insurance companies too.
Sure.
And a lot of times I hear about, there's something under warranty or it's missed opportunity, driving up our premiums.
Well, that's where I think carriers are missing the boat because they're dumbing things down and getting a lower quality product. They're going to pay the price for that ultimately at some point in time with cascading or additional, repeat failure.
Yeah, and I wonder how many times we miss subrogation on that.
Yeah.
Because if that's the cost.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot, I can tell you.
Frequent structural damage. So low bid installations often cut corners on critical hidden components like valley flashing, ice and water shields, attic ventilation. I see ventilation everywhere now, Scott. I just want you to know that. I'm just looking like, how many, they ain't got any ventilation on that roof.
Yeah.
That leads to wood rot, mold growth, compromised structural integrity, and then reputation and legal hazards. So, unvetted, low-cost crews are frequently underinsured. If a worker is injured on a homeowner's property or damages a neighbor's structure, the consumer can face the legal and financial liability. So you better have high liability on your home.
These managed repair programs, the thing that consumers are not getting is they're getting a replacement of the exact same roof that just failed to stand up to everything that we face in the severe convective storm zone. All right? They're getting an exact replacement. The consumers are not getting an education from a contractor about building better, about systems roofs, about IBHS Fortified, about the OID grant program, because that's not the motivation for the carriers. That's not the motivation for the contractors. The motivation for the carriers is to save money. Motivation for the contractors is to get in fast, grab low-hanging fruit, get their check, and get out of town before these roofs start to fail.
And it's really short-sighted. They may save money on the short run, but they're going to lose it on the long run.
That is exactly
And that's
right.
what we've been doing. We've been playing this game. I can tell you examples where I've used managed companies, and they were terrible. They broke stuff, and they left crap all over my yard. It's not the way to go.
Well, we talk about that every time we have a storm, we have an opportunity. And this is one of my greatest frustrations, Chris. I know it's a frustration to you in terms of, trying to drive this whole resilience forward into the marketplace, is we have an opportunity in Yukon, Oklahoma. We have an opportunity in Chickasha, Oklahoma. We have an opportunity in several communities here in our state, where if we could drive the messaging to the marketplace in the way that it should be delivered, if that messaging was coming from carriers, if that messaging was coming from producers, if it was coming from the mortgage companies, if it was coming from contractors, across the board, a consistent unified message about resilience, we would have an opportunity to take significant steps forward, at least in these communities.
Absolutely. And I think for me, you have to have a unifying voice. And to me, that's the insurance commissioner. That's what we need. That's what I want to bring to the table, is to make sure we are overseeing the system as a whole and improving it long term. And, the time to build better and stronger is right now. It's not when the storm happens. You have to plan and have a plan in place. You have to have the incentives and structures in place. You have to have the messaging, all that in place. So when the storm comes, we are prepared to start putting on a fortified roof. I mean, everybody listening out here, I can't tell you how many times I talked to people over the years, and they're just like, look at those idiots rebuilding in a floodplain. We're rebuilding in a hail zone, and we're doing the same thing because we're
95 out of 100 times.
Yeah, you're just putting back the same stuff.
Yeah.
So we need to get smarter about what we're doing out here, especially with roofing, because that is driving everyone's claims cost and driving up our premiums.
Well, and you talk about, again, the word of the week's commoditized. We talk about how roofing has been dumbed down to this point. And we say all the time that, a roof is the second most important assembly in any structure after only a foundation. And it is the number one weather shedding assembly in every structure on the face of the planet. How can you dumb down roofs? But yet we have done it time and time and time again. I was in a room with some people the other day, and I asked how many people have had multiple roofs in the last 10 years, and I was surprised at the percentage of people in that room that had multiple roofs in the last 10 years. Now, this was in Oklahoma City or in the greater metro, okay? But I will tell you that in a room of 100 people, there were probably 50% of those people who had had more than one roof replacement in the last 10 years. That is uncalled for. That is ridiculous. That is the definition of insanity. And, I have been building roofs in Oklahoma for 17 years with less robust systems than I utilize today. And we have replaced a couple handfuls of roofs in that 17 years out of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of roofs. It just does not make any sense to be replacing these roofs.
No, especially when there's an opportunity to replace stronger with things that make sense.
Why are the carriers not a little more insistent about that, Chris? Why, when, I'm thinking in terms of Scotty and I were talking yesterday, you get this 2-page letter from the carrier as an explanatory letter, a cover letter for your claim summary, okay? Why are the carriers not taking that opportunity to drive these points home and say, this presents you an opportunity to replace this roof on our dime, essentially. This is an opportunity for you to invest in building better and resilience to protect and mitigate risk for you and for us. If you don't take this opportunity, you're going to pay more premium, or we may cancel or non-renew you. Why don't carriers do that?
I just think it's the path of least resistance. They're doing the least amount of work to do their job and make money. They're not going to change until they start losing money. And
Well,
that's where they're at now.
When their reinsurers start dictating to them that you're going to address severe convective storm risk, then they will do something.
Right. So we're getting a lot of investment into Fortified because premiums have gotten so high that people are not having insurance, and reinsurance is becoming expensive. And now you have lawsuits with roofing. So all those put together are causing them to get more focused on this issue.
And with that, we'll take our mid-break. You're listening to McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma on Freedom 96.9. Our trivia question still out there. How many certainteed shingles are approved for use in a fortified high wind and hail designated roof? 3, 4, 5, or 6? Our phone number, 405-608-4377. We'll be back after the news.
The new Freedom 96.9 and Liberty Fest 2026, honoring 250 years of American independence and the 100th anniversary of the legendary Route 66. Find out more at freedom969.com. Freedom
Weather.
Here's your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast. Today will be breezy and very warm with intervals of sunshine, but keep an eye out for a strong thunderstorm in some areas later this afternoon. These storms could potentially bring hail and damaging winds with a high of 92 degrees. Tonight, expect an evening thunderstorm giving way to partly cloudy skies and a low of 70 degrees. Tomorrow will remain breezy and hot with temperatures nearing the record high of 98 degrees set back in 1934. Anticipate a mix of sun and clouds throughout the day with the mercury climbing to 97 degrees. With your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are solely those of the speakers and other contributors. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of this station. The new Freedom 96.9, Oklahoma's talk radio.
McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma back on the air for the second half of this morning's live call-in show on Freedom 96.9. Our number 405-608-4377. On this date in 1848, this is the date of May the 30th, 1848, William Young of Baltimore received a patent for, quote, an improvement in ice cream freezers. I'm glad that they improved them.
Yeah.
And then on this date in 1896, I think it would be safe to say we've all been involved in a car accident at one time or another in our lives. Well, on this date in 1896, the first car accident occurred in New York City when Henry Wells hit a cyclist. No word on the insurance claim. Our trivia question still out there. And folks, this is such an easy one. All you got to do is say 3, 4, 5, or 6. How many CertainTeed shingles are approved for use in a fortified high wind and hail designated roof? 3, 4, 5, or 6? Give us a call at 405-608-4377.
And I don't know if this is going to help or not, but the Landmark AR, algae resistance, what that stands for.
Okay.
Landmark AR is the only Class 3 shingle, Class 3 impact rated versus Class 4 impact rated, difference in a quarter inch.
Mm-hmm.
Landmark AR is the only Class 3 shingle approved by IBHS Fortified for use in a high wind and hail designated roof. The only one.
All the other ones are Class 4.
So now I have given you 3 CertainTeed shingles that you know are approved. So you go from there.
All right, 405-608-4377.
Yeah.
Back to you, Scott.
Oh, back to me? Okay. So Chris, we're talking about, this whole idea of the way we've kind of dumbed roofs down and the reason that we need to start with roofing. You have talked a lot about kind of ideas for OID and some of the things that OID needs to have in place to basically be informed by the marketplace. So, you've talked about having, consumers involved in conversations, maybe people that have been through a really horrible claims experience. You've talked about having roofing contractors and contractors in general. Obviously, you have to have carrier representation. You have to have producer and agent representation things. Who needs to inform? Who does Chris Meredith need to be listening to?
So this is an important concept, and it goes to a principle. Because I'm the only one in the race that's actually run an operation and led people, I learned this a long time ago when I was in claims. And it's, the answers don't come from the top. They come from the bottom. They come from the people on the ground doing the work every day. These are adjusters. These are roofers. These are the people that do the work. And so it is very important. It's a concept to bring in those people to get the ideas to actually fix the system. And I met with a roofer yesterday, and he was telling me all kinds of great information, a lot of things that you've shared with me as well. And, it was just fascinating, things I didn't know. And I told him, I said, I'm glad you're telling me this, but I'm going to need you to tell me again because when we fix the system, because I'm not trying to be a roofer. I'm not a roofer. I'm going to facilitate and empower people to come in and fix this. That's my job as a leader, and whoever gets the job, that's how they need to lead.
So, what is what's the landscape right now in the race? I mean, where how many folks are in there, and kind of what are the contrasting views or opinions or positions that are out there? When people want to know who Chris Meredith is, obviously we have gained some insights into that, talking about resiliency and talking about the reforms and things you have in mind. Where are the other people in the race coming from?
Well, there's
not to speak for them, but just general.
And I don't really know. I mean, for sure, but I mean, there's 4 Republicans, there's 1 Democrat. We have a June 16th primary, but we'll whittle down the Democrat field a little bit, hopefully to 1. That'd be great. Just get it over with. But there might be a runoff. And I can't really speak for their ideas and things. I really haven't heard them. I mean,
really,
I hear generalized. We're going to fix this. We're working on it. I even get that from people. They call me and they're like, I don't like them because they're just saying they're working on it. And I need an action plan.
Right.
I have an action plan. Like
right.
they like you, if I'm nominated on the 16th, on the 17th, I go to work. I mean, I'm not waiting for January because I want to be able to roll things out immediately. And one of those things is the Fortify program. How do we maximize its impact? I mean, use public funds, think out of the box. How do we encourage more people to do it? How do we work with municipalities to get it done? The answers have already been, they're out there already. I mean, other states have done this stuff. It's just a matter of taking those things and applying them.
Well, I think your approach, I think the idea of getting the cities, municipalities engaged in this, a number of them already are engaged. Obviously, you've got the city of Moore, who has worked very hard since the devastating tornado event, 10, 12 years ago now. How long has that been? It seems like forever, doesn't it?
13 years.
13 years ago. Wow. But they've worked very hard on what they do in terms of their building code, things that they have adopted by ordinance. City of Shawnee is working in that vein as well. I know that some of the cities around here are working very hard. We understand that we can't wait on the code cycle. It just takes too long. And there's too much resistance to putting these very, very strong protections for life and safety into the building code that comes up. So it just takes too long to get there. We've got to find a different way of doing it.
Yeah, and I'm very, very focused on when I leave office, I want Oklahoma to be the most resilient state in the nation. I want them to transform and be a model for how you handle roofing claims in the claim system. And we're going to do that, and I am preferred to do that through leadership and operational excellence, which is totally different than any of my competitors. None of them have led an operation. None of them have been in the field in a catastrophe. I've worked Joplin, I've worked hurricanes, and I've worked the more tornado, the debris, the cleanup, the operations side of it. How do you respond?
Right.
And so I've seen exactly what we need to do before it happens, and that is so important to know. How does this work beforehand? How do you have an event like that? Well, how do you get rid of the debris?
Yeah.
How do you move thousands of cars that are underwater, like in Houston? We have to be ready beforehand. And that experience, the right experience, not just any experience, the right experience has to be in that office to actually move the needle.
Yeah. It's interesting. You're talking about how do you move the tornado debris, or how do you move the flooded cars and things like that. And it's interesting, I was reading an article the other day about the issues that Hawaii faced with the fires, and the idea of how do you get all of that debris off of an island, things that people never really thought about and planned for. And it's just, we're not proactive, and we don't plan, I believe, the way that we should and could plan. And that puts us in that situation where it's always reactive. It's always, now we're in a crisis. Now we're in a hurry up mode. We got to Band-Aid things back together and get back to normal as fast as we can. And we make a lot of mistakes in the process of how we do that.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you right now, the playbooks are already written. Joplin, the playbook was written after that event.
Yes.
And it's things like, grants to rebuild.
Yep.
How do you deal with homeowners who have nothing but a slab, but they have no insurance?
Right.
Because it was fraudulently taken from them, or they just didn't have it. and we're having more of that today than ever because of the high premium. So
Right.
that's got to be prepared. You got to be ahead of the game on catastrophe response. And to your point, we have to have that plan in place to, okay, we just have an opportunity here to rebuild our city stronger. So the next one, we're safer, and we actually deal with a better, more resilient housing market.
So one of the things that I know as an outcome of those tornado events in Moore and in Joplin, those two cities are the only two cities in the United States, inland cities, that have stringent wind code that's been adopted by ordinance into their cities. So they have reacted to, but it's always, again, it's still a reaction. So we need to start getting the more stringent requirements in place for new construction, for remodeling, for the things that are taking place day in and day out before that next event happens. We can't perfect something that's already in the built environment, but we can make it a lot better than what it is right now as we remodel it or add on to it or replace a roof or replace, different systems of that structure. We can be making that more hard than what it is right now.
Absolutely. And I also think, the codes and those types of deals, those are important, and they are an option. But there's so many opportunities out to incentivize with just using free market mechanisms and using influence and leadership within the department that already exists. I mean, where are the manufacturers?
Yeah.
Where are the shingle manufacturers? There's opportunities there. I've heard about them all the time, that if we get them involved, that they can help give us better contracting and kind of get out of this commoditization deal where we're building back with service orientation instead of just a price orientation.
I had a long conversation with a product manager for Certainty this past week on just along those lines. One of the things that I could see, and maybe I'm sure you've thought about this, but when you start building alliances or when you start building collaborators around OID with OID, obviously I'm thinking Oklahoma Municipal League and the State Chamber and Big I, organizations like that you need to be able to really bring into the fold where there is a more unified voice about all of these things.
And this is about leadership. Insurance commissioner's not over roofing technically, right?
Right.
But it does impact insurance, and it's just a matter of deciding to use the platform to go out and attack the problem.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to do. I am focused on this issue. It's obviously the root of the problem. It needs to be focused leadership, bring people together and fix it.
And with that, we'll take our final break of the morning. I want to remind you, you're listening to McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma on Freedom 96.9, the station's only live call-in show on Saturday morning. We're talking with Chris Meredith, candidate for State Insurance Commissioner. Our trivia question is still out there. How many Certainty shingles are approved for use in a fortified high wind and hail designated roof? 3, 4, 5, or 6? Give us a call, 405-608-4377. Homer Stacy was a wholesome, good American kid from Texas. At the age of 18, he enlisted in the United States Army Horse Cavalry and was stationed at Fort Bliss. Homer was fascinated with aircraft, so he went to flight school and became an Army Air Corps pilot. Homer Stacy flew a Convair B-24 Liberator, the Yankee Doodle Dandy, on November 11, 1943, when his crew, along with 31 other bombers, destroyed a ball-bearing plant in occupied France. On a return trip, a mechanical failure caused the Yankee Doodle Dandy to drop out of formation, leaving it vulnerable, and shortly thereafter, 7 German Me-109s shot down the plane near Andano, Italy. 4 crew members were killed on board, the others parachuted. 1 was captured and taken prisoner. Homer was among the remaining 5 who made it to Switzerland and returned to duty. Homer Stacy survived World War II, the Korean War, and retired after 23 years of service with many awards and commendations, including the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Purple Heart, and multiple air medals. Homer Stacy McCollum, Scott McCollum's dad. Scott McCollum is McRoof. McRoof.us is owned and operated by the McCollum family, an honorable, trustworthy red, white, and blue family. If you want to fortify your property, call McRoof.us at 405-877-4663. Ask for your complimentary roof inspection performed by a credentialed Hague residential inspector. McRoof.us, saving lives and protecting property by fortifying Oklahoma, one roof at a time. McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma, back on the air for the final segment of this morning's live call-in show on Freedom 96.9. On this date of May 30th, 1911, the first running of the Indianapolis 500. It was, and the top speed, the average speed was a whopping 74.6 miles an hour.
Wow.
On this date in 1987, this is a little bit of electronics history even I wasn't aware of. On this date in 1987, the North American Philips Company, they created the compact disc, and I think the audio cassette, and then before that, they unveiled the compact disc video format, which could hold up to 800 megabytes.
Oh, wow.
Enough for a full-length movie.
Wow.
Of course, remember that standard definition.
That's funny.
I never heard of the CD-V format.
Oh, man.
All right, our trivia question is still out there, and we do have
Oh, my gosh.
Benny on the line. He couldn't hold it any longer. All right, Benny.
Well,
All right.
I give everybody the opportunity before I weigh in, and I may get it wrong,
I
but
appreciate it.
I do have a couple things to contribute to the program, my opinions and ideas, if I have the freedom to express those.
Absolutely.
First off, I'm going to say 3 on the shingles.
Oh, my goodness. Well,
Where's your buzzer? Buzz him out. Buzz him out.
That's okay, because to me, a metal roof is not an actual shingle.
Mighty Casey has struck out.
That's not the first time.
What isn't an actual shingle?
The metal roofs.
Oh,
That's not one of them. I'm talking about all asphalt shingle roofs. So anyway, you're
Okay.
3's not the right answer, but that's
Well,
okay.
then I was trying to do it from memory because I knew about the Class 3 certainty.
So that doesn't mean that we're not going to value your opinions and insight, Benny. So just because you got the question wrong, let's hear what you got for us.
Well, the only thing I truly am an expert on is my opinion, as pretty much all of us are.
Yep.
Okay, in regards to the managed roofing thing, that's kind of like managed healthcare. Look where the quality of that is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one thing. The insurance companies obviously need to be more involved in pushing for better replacement materials and operation. How about mortgage companies getting involved in this?
And they are, Benny. They are. Yeah, I think that's absolutely right.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure about that, but I thought that would be something to mention as an idea, and I'm happy that you have Chris on this morning because I finally got that check in the mail. I had it ready to go, and it got mislaid, and it was buried in a pile of paperwork, but I got it out a couple of weeks ago, so hopefully his campaign coffer has been helped a little bit.
Well, we appreciate it, Benny. Let me tell you about mortgages. It doesn't appear the way that maybe we would like it, and maybe they're not as front and center about it. But what does happen is that when people are going and applying for a mortgage, and all of their ratios are being calculated, the insurance premium is going to be part of what's being considered in their ability to purchase, what they can actually qualify for. So if we're driving, if the messaging is such that, you need to consider doing this, or this because it's going to lower insurance premiums, ultimately that plays its way absolutely into the mortgage calculations. I think it ultimately benefits home builders, quite honestly, because the builders who are resistant to doing things, maybe like we're talking about with Systems Roof or Class 4 or something a little bit better, on the front end, on the back end, they're going to be selling houses to people that have more disposable income, and their ratios are a little lower because insurance premiums are lower, so they can buy more house. I don't understand why the building community doesn't see it as a benefit to them long term. And I think that those conversations really began to start happening earlier this year in Washington, D.C. So,
Well, they're short-sighted because they're only looking at their out-of-pocket cost for building a given structure right now. And another thing I think maybe that the insurance commission can do, right now, the insurance companies, the few that we have underwriting here in the state, seem to be able to raise premiums willy-nilly at will, and I've been hammered big time. Now, the new roof I got 2 years ago, that only went up about $140, which was a pleasant surprise. But I got over a $1,200 increase last year with no further claims. And I had $1,000 in 2023. So I'm looking at overall, pretty close to $5,000, $3,000 of premium increases in a 3-year period.
And I'll be honest with you, Benny, and I do want to be able to have a few minutes to talk about this, because that is where the insurance carriers not having information about your roof. Now, obviously, in your case, they have a Class 4 impact resistant certificate from McRoof that says what we installed on your roof.
It didn't matter to them.
Yeah, here's the problem. They don't understand the roof that you have. They don't understand the resilient system that you have. They don't understand the products that were put into it. They don't understand who installed it. This is what has got to happen with insurance pricing, is it has to come down to the actual rooftop level where the carriers are underwriting based on your roof conditions and not on the conditions in your zip code. And that change is being driven by a little company we call Roof RX, Benny. And I can tell you that I have situations on the East Coast where I have clients who had received ridiculous premium increases. We did a Roof RX truth document for them, presented it to their broker agent who took it to their carrier, and their premiums were rolled back. We have people whose roofs have been canceled because they were 10, 12, 15 years old, and we did a report on them showing the condition of their roof. Their policies were reinstated. This is where actual roof condition, and not some dumbed-down version of underwriting called underwriting by zip code, is going to have to come into play. And the consumers that are arming themselves with our reports are winning. We call these truth wins. We do our reports. It's called a truth document, a trust document. When that's presented to a producer and a carrier, the consumers are winning. That's why this is going to become so important in the future.
Yeah, well, my total insurance premium last year was almost $6,400.
That's ridiculous.
That is unconscionable as far as I'm concerned. Especially since I've had one claim in the 20-odd years.
Well,
I've been
especially when you have a brand new roof that was installed by us with SBS Flex Technology shingles on it. Your premium should not have been going up. Your premium should have gone backwards after we installed your new roof. That's crazy.
It went up about 140 that year's renewal after the new roof was put on, but they came right back. What they're doing is they're clawing back what they had to shell out on my replacement cost coverage and code and ordinance coverage. Yeah. Is what I think's going on.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right, Benny. Well, we appreciate you calling, and as always, you have a great week and stay safe this evening.
And I do promote Chris every chance I get.
We have some weather coming tonight.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Benny. Hey, I want to take this opportunity to remind everybody that S&CM LLC, doing business as McRoof.us, legally operates under Oklahoma registration number 8000002, and that the registration applies to both residential and commercial roofing.
Chris, Benny brought up a good point. Does OID have an actuary on staff?
To my knowledge, they do not.
Okay.
And that would be the first thing I start looking at.
Interesting.
You have to.
Interesting.
At least maybe two.
Well, this idea of underwriting roofs by zip code is one of the craziest things I've ever heard of. And you talked about, do we actually see claims paid that should not be paid because carriers don't know the warranties and understand what's really going on the roofs? Absolutely, we see that happen. Yep. Okay, absolutely, we see that happen. Anyway, to answer the trivia question,
Yes.
the answer is there are 5 CertainTeed shingles that are approved for use in a fortified high wind and hail designated roof. Landmark AR, Northgate Climate Flex, Landmark Climate Flex, Belmont IR, and Presidential IR. So there
Hey,
you go.
Randy, let's get the storm sound going. Scott mentioned storms coming in tonight. And here we go.
I don't know if he has it or not.
Yeah,
so.
he has it. He has it. All right, so let's surviving the storm. Why do we need to know the truth on the roof?
Well, you need to know the truth on the roof. Number one, you do not want to file an insurance claim that is not justified based on storm-related damage that has occurred on your roof, okay? We don't want you having a claim on your record unnecessarily. Number two, you need to know the truth on your roof, the condition on your roof, because most roofs, a lot of roofs are repairable. There are more roofs that are repairable than there are roofs that are absolutely devastated by storms and must be replaced. So if your roof is repairable, you need to understand that. Don't let somebody lead you down the path of replacing a roof that does not need to be replaced. Now, if your roof needs to be replaced, you need to understand that your roof needs to be replaced. You need to understand your out-of-pocket scenario with your insurance company based on your deductible and uncovered items, things that you don't have in your policy. You need to know that before you ever file a claim. And then the next thing you need to know is you need to be educated about building a resilient roof system in response to that storm, a roof that will not fail you again the next time nickel and dime hail rolls through town.
Well, there you go. And if you'd like to get the truth on the roof, then you need to contact Roof RX. You can do that online at roof-rx.com or call them at 405-877-4ROOF. That's roof-rx.com or 877-405-877-4ROOF. Okay, gentlemen. Dad's wisdom.
Dad's wisdom. Just keep tapping on the rock. It's not the last big blow, but the accumulation of all the little blows that finally shatters the rock. And by the way, if you think this is about rocks, you just not get it.
As my daddy would say, you got rocks in your head. All right. Thank you, Retro Radio Randy. Thank you, Scott McCullum. Thank you, Chris Meredith, candidate for Insurance Commissioner. Always good to have you in studio here.
Thank you, Chris.
We'll be back next week. This has been episode number 60 of McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma on Freedom 96.9. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. Stay safe tonight, everyone, and thunder up.
KQOB Enid, Oklahoma City, 2026, a celebration of freedom